Revenge films.
My wife Jill is a stay-at-home mom. The other day, I caught her having an affair. At first, I thought I was just imagining things, but I looked back, and there were many signs that I had overlooked. One thing that stood out was how she suddenly started leaving the house often to meet with her friend. She would leave our 4-year-old daughter Jamie with her parents and go out often. Whenever she would go over to her friend's house, she would text message me.
I had dinner at my friend's house, and Jamie ate at my parents' place. So just go out and buy something for yourself to eat.
Our household gradually became a cold environment, and our daughter must have felt it too, because she became mentally unstable and would cry all the time. I knew things had to change. So one day, I took a day off work and followed my wife. Jill was all dressed up that day and left Jamie with her parents and went to a hotel. I could hear Jamie crying as her mother left.
Mommy! Mommy, don't leave me!
I just took a couple photos of them entering and leaving the hotel. And the guy she was with was my friend Jack. He was my best friend. We even gave a speech at my wedding and planned the after party for us. After leaving the hotel at around 5 p.m., they walked hand in hand to a restaurant nearby. That's when I stopped following them. Jill came home in a wonderful mood. So I sat her down and talked to her. Hey, so I was thinking about inviting Jack over for dinner sometime soon. I haven't seen him in such a long time.
Why, Jack?
No particular reason. Why? Do you think it's a bad idea?
No. When do you want to do it?
I'm not sure. Let me give him a call. When I called, Jack seemed a little bit shaken. He tried to refuse the offer at first, but with a little persuasion, he agreed to come. He said that he had a day off work in 3 days, so we decided to do a hot pot at our house that day. I got home a little bit early from work that day, and Jill was preparing dinner.
Oh, hello, honey. Do you know what time your friend will be here?
He should be here soon. I'm just gonna take a walk for a while. I'll be back in a bit. I took Jamie with me and went over to my parents' house and left her with my mother.
Daddy!
Jamie cried when I tried to leave her, but I didn't want her to see what was about to happen. Stay here with Grandma for a while. I'll come back to get you soon. I left her there, feeling a strong sense of guilt as I left. It was infuriating to imagine that Jill had been putting Jamie through this every week without remorse. I waited for Jack outside and entered the house with him.
Where's Jamie?
My wife seemed suspicious, and Jack must have felt something was off, because he seemed a bit panicked. Since when do you care about Jamie? You leave her with your parents and go to the hotel all the time. Don't start acting like her mother. Jill seemed shocked to hear those words. She was speechless. I have proof, too. Here's from yesterday. I showed them the pictures that I took the day before. I'm sorry, Jordan. It wasn't supposed to be like this.
This is a misunderstanding. Hear me out.
Jack was on his knees apologizing, and Jill was in tears. Go ahead, explain yourselves. Jill was in no shape to explain, so Jack started talking. We ran into each other one day in town and went for coffee. We exchanged numbers that day, and gradually we became closer. Jill, you left Jamie crying every time, right? Can you imagine how lonely she must have felt? But you care more about fooling around with Jack, right? Jill just stared at the ground and didn't say anything. I didn't want to ruin your family. It was a whim. That just pissed me off even more. Well, that's exactly what you did. You betrayed me. I'm sorry, Jordan. After seeing how mad I was, Jordan started crying too. I grabbed a suitcase and threw Jill's belongings inside. I'll send you your other things later. Get out of here. I shoved the suitcase into Jill's arms and she finally spoke.
No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. It'll never happen again.
She didn't try to accept the suitcase and didn't try to move from where she was standing. So I called up her mother. Your daughter's having an affair. Did you know that she was going out to meet her boyfriend every time she left Jamie with you? I can't live with her anymore, so I'm kicking her out. You guys can deal with her. I explained the situation and hung up, and forced Jill out of the house, and threw the suitcase out from behind her. And when I shuffled through her bag to retrieve the house keys, I found birth control goods. After throwing that at her face, I threw her purse out and locked the doors so she couldn't get back in. After watching Jack drive away in his car, I went back over to my parents' house. Jamie was asleep, and I didn't feel like going back home that day, so I slept at my parents' house that night. The next day, Jill's parents visited the house. It seemed as though Jack drove her over to her parents' house last night.
Please forgive our daughter.
They begged on their knees for forgiveness. When Jill left Jamie with her parents, she would tell her mother,
I have to go to my part-time job. Can you watch Jamie for me?
What an unbelievable excuse. I told them that I refused to try to make things work out with their daughter. First, she cheated on me with my best friend, and she would leave our daughter with you to go see him. And when she gets caught, she sends you guys over to apologize. There's no way I can let a person like that raise my daughter. If she wants to fight it, I'm willing to take this to court. I told them exactly how I felt and sent them back home. Later, I received a phone call from Jill, saying that she wanted to talk about it in person. You're right, we should discuss the terms of the divorce. She just cried after I told her that. She thought that she could talk me out of the divorce, but she was wrong. The next day, I brought Jamie and went to my in-laws' house. Jamie ran over to her mother.
Mommy! Mommy!
She gave her a big hug, and Jill broke down in tears. About our daughter, you can have custody of her.
Huh? Are you sure?
Jill seemed a little pleased to hear me say that. I think that's best for Jamie. And plus, I'm not even sure at this point if she's even my daughter.
That's a terrible thing to say. I would never do that. Why would you say such a thing?
Well, at this point, I can't trust anything that comes out of your mouth. I just left it at that and shut the doors before she could argue back. After that, I went back to our apartment and started packing my things. When I found Jill's phone, she said that the affair was only going on for about a month, but I quickly found out that it had been continuing for at least 6 months. I'd known Jack's wife since high school as well, so I called her up and told her everything as well. She'd been suspicious for a while, she told me, and wanted the evidence I had, so I happily agreed to hand her a copy as well. I had my lawyer send certified emails to Jill's parents, Jack's parents, and Jack's workplace. Hey, are you enjoying ruining my life? Jack was mad that I did all of that. Well, you already finished ruining mine, didn't you? I reminded him of what he had done, and there was nothing more he could say. Jack got divorced after that and was charged alimony by his wife, and was pretty much forced to quit his job as well. Our friends found out what happened as well, and I received many words of encouragement. Hey, Jordan, you okay? Man, I never thought that Jack would do such a thing. Many of our friends disowned Jack, and he lost many friends. Jill was determined to fix the marriage at first and refused to accept the divorce. But after I told her parents that I would take her to court if I had to, they convinced her, and she ended up accepting the divorce. They even offered to pay the alimony, but I told them that even if it was in split payments, I wanted Jill to pay the money. We ended up doing a DNA test, and I found out that Jamie wasn't a match with me. It seemed like Jill had been having multiple affairs long before running into Jack. That was reason enough to take her to court as well. But I didn't want to waste time and money, so I had Jill agree to pay back everything it cost me to raise Jamie up until then instead. Jamie called a couple of times after that too.
Daddy, I miss you.
If you want to meet your daddy, tell your mom that you want to meet your real dad, and she might be able to help you.
Huh? My real dad? Okay, I'll ask. Then I can meet you, right?
Yeah, maybe. I hung up the phone. Jill never called back after that.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.